The low hum of antimatter engines reverberated through the control pod as Elena Chavez leaned into her console. Every dial, every readout glowed against her focused gaze. Her hands moved with practiced precision, fingers gliding across holographic controls, fine-tuning the calibration of the propulsion system. The sleek prototype rocket, nestled deep in a vault beneath Kennedy Space Center, wasn't on any public manifest. Thrust at 80%, she muttered to herself, watching the numbers respond. Her comm crackled. "You sure you want to do this solo, Captain?" Samira's voice was light but laced with concern. Elena's lips quirked into a small smile. "If my father was crazy enough to fly one of these blind, I can handle a test run." "You always say that," Samira replied, an audible sigh trailing after her words. "I know," Elena answered, "but this time's different." And it was. She hadn't slept properly in days. The encrypted file that had found its way into her hands last week, a fragmented data cache, bearing her father's seal, had stirred up too many questions to ignore. It spoke of an entirely separate branch of NASA operating in the shadows. The so-called secret space program. The very one Elena was now stepping into. A metallic clang echoed through the bay as the prototype engines powered down at her command. Outside her viewport, robotic arms retracted and locks disengaged. She unclipped herself and climbed out into the cold metallic light of the hangar, boots clicking against the polished floor. That was when she felt him before she saw him. "Captain Chavez," said a deep, measured voice. Dr. Amos Varek emerged from the gloom like a specter, all sharp angles and silver hair, hands clasped behind his back. "Dr. Varek," Elena greeted him evenly. He smiled with a practiced warmth that never quite reached his eyes. "I hear the calibration went smoothly. You work as efficiently as your father." Elena stiffened at the mention. "You knew him well?" Varek inclined his head. "Your father was one of the most promising pilots this program ever had." The words felt rehearsed, like they'd been pulled from a decades-old script. Elena crossed her arms. "He disappeared without a trace. Official reports never explained why." Varek regarded her for a long, weighted moment before gesturing toward the far end of the hangar. "Walk with me." His footsteps were measured, echoing off steel walls as they moved past long-forgotten shuttles and crates stamped with unfamiliar logos. The scent of ozone and lubricants clung to the stale underground air. "You've guessed by now," Varek began, voice hushed, "this is no ordinary propulsion program. The public face of our space agency is decades behind what we're really capable of." Elena glanced around at the humming machinery. "That much I can see." Varek paused at a sealed hatch and pressed his palm to a glowing scanner. The door slid open to reveal a dim corridor bathed in blue light. "Your father was part of a project to perfect faster-than-light travel," Varek continued as they stepped inside. "He believed that humanity's destiny wasn't Mars. It was far, far beyond." The corridor led into a vault-like chamber. Alien shapes glinted under protective shielding, asymmetrical engine housings, shards of unknown metals, fragments of tech that didn't match anything in her engineering manuals. "Where did this come from?" Elena whispered, breath caught in her throat. Varek finally looked at her. "From places most on Earth can't imagine. Wreckage we retrieved before it could panic the world." "You mean alien," Elena said flatly. He gave a slow nod. "And if we play this right, humanity can leap centuries ahead in a single generation. That's what this program is for, preparing for what's already out there." Elena stared at the alien tech, a strange thrill mixing with unease. It wasn't just what they'd built, it was what they'd hidden. "Why show me this now?" she asked, suspicion in her voice. Varek was already moving, leading her into a small, glass-walled control center at the chamber's heart. Holographic charts shimmered overhead, star maps, jump routes, and encrypted transmissions. You've earned your place, he said. Your record speaks for itself, and so does your lineage. You're ready to go further. To see what your father saw before he vanished. That word, vanished, hit like a punch. Elena stepped closer to one of the holoscreens, fingers trembling slightly. You're telling me he didn't just vanish, she said slowly. He was on one of these ships. Varric gestured to a schematic of a sleek starship. Prototype Ares. Last we heard, it was approaching Jupiter. Its jump signature spiked beyond any known metric. Her heart thudded. So that was the truth. Her father hadn't simply disappeared. He'd been part of this all along, chasing impossible dreams into the dark. You want me to help you finish what he started, Elena concluded. Varric's gaze held hers, an unspoken challenge glinting in his eyes. That depends on whether you have the nerve to face what lies past the edge of our star maps. Elena felt 1,000 emotions swirling inside her, grief, wonder, anger, awe. Every fiber of her engineering-trained brain screamed questions. Every part of her heart urged her onward. I need time, she said carefully. You'll have it, Varric replied. But not much. Before he left, he paused at the door. Your father believed humanity deserved to know the truth. I hope you do too. And then he was gone, his footsteps fading down the corridor as the door sealed shut behind him. Elena stood alone beneath the alien machinery, her breath quick and hands trembling. Her father was out there somewhere, alive or lost to the stars, and she was finally holding the keys to find him. And she knew, whatever she decided, nothing would ever be the same again. Elena barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, alien schematics and her father's face shimmered in the dark like ghosts. The weight of Varric's revelations pressed against her thoughts like gravity. Humanity had one face in public and another, secret, audacious, underground. By morning, she was in her small quarters, perched on the edge of her cot with her laptop balanced on her knees. The encrypted file from her father sat unlocked before her, a trove of design schematics, star maps, personal log entries. Lines of data scrolled across her screen as she dug deeper. Every so often, she'd catch a glimpse of her father's meticulous handwriting and marginal notes, his voice reading aloud in her memory. That was when the knock came. Elena? Samira's voice, warm and wary. You up? Come in, Elena called, shutting her laptop halfway. The door eased open and Samira slipped inside, dressed in a pilot's jumpsuit, her dark hair pulled back into a hurried knot. Word is Varric kept you late, she began cautiously. And you look like you haven't slept. Elena gave a tired smile. You wouldn't either after what I learned. Samira perched on the corner of the cot. That bad? More like that big, Elena answered, gesturing at the laptop. Dad was involved in something huge before he vanished. Faster-than-light engines, contact with alien tech. It's all real. Samira's brow furrowed as she scanned the schematics. And Varric just handed you this stuff? More like hinted I was already part of it, Elena replied. He wants me on his team. I can't tell if that's an invitation or a warning. Samira reached out, squeezing Elena's arm. And what do you want? That was the question Elena had been circling all night. She glanced at the blinking screen, then at Samira. Answers. Varric's making this sound like humanity's only shot at the future, but I don't trust him. Too many blank spots. You mean like what happened to your father? Exactly, Elena murmured. Samira was quiet for a long moment before straightening. Then we do this together. Whatever's going on down here, you don't face it alone. Gratitude flared in Elena's chest. Samira had been by her side since flight school, and that was unlikely to change. First, Elena said, swiveling back to the laptop, I need to figure out these schematics. Some of the notations look like they might have alien origins. I can't make sense of them without help. Then let's find someone who can, Samira replied. And someone Varroc's people won't monitor. 2 hours later they were halfway across the base, slipping past corridors that felt deserted even though Elena knew better. They paused outside a reinforced lab door, and Samira palmed a hacked access card. You sure about this guy? Elena whispered. Sure enough, Samira whispered back. He might be a recluse, but no one parses alien data better. The lock yielded with a beep. Inside, the lab was dim, illuminated by columns of blue light and banks of screens. A wiry man with glasses perched on his nose, Dr. Julian Park, glanced up as they entered, surprise registering before he masked it with his usual stoicism. You two must want something, he said without preamble. You heard about the prototype tests, Samira began carefully. Park nodded, hands steepled. I also heard Varroc's been grooming Elena for bigger things. Elena didn't bother with small talk. She spun her laptop around and displayed the alien schematics. We need your help decoding these. He leaned in, lips moving silently as he scanned the diagrams. Where did you get this? Park asked, voice hushed. My father, Elena replied simply. That was enough. Park straightened. Looks like a mix of quantum resonance arrays and something far older, possibly from a non-human source. If these are accurate... He trailed off, eyes gleaming behind his glasses. They could jump a ship past the heliopause in minutes, he finished. That matches what Varroc hinted, Elena said, breath quickening. But it also means my father left on one of these ships. Park pulled up a stool and began highlighting sections on the screen. See this subroutine? It's incomplete. Without it, the jump would miscalculate. No wonder your father disappeared. A chill ran down Elena's spine. You're telling me someone sent him out knowing the tech wasn't stable, Samira stated. Park nodded grimly. That, or they hoped the aliens had supplied a cure on the other side. Elena's hands curled into fists. The idea that her father had been sacrificed for some clandestine experiment made her blood run cold. What about Varroc? She pressed. Is he aware this is incomplete? Park hesitated. If Varroc's as sharp as they say, yes. But maybe he decided the risk was worth it. Elena exchanged a look with Samira. They had their answer, and their next move. Can you get this off-site without anyone tracing it? Samira asked. Park pulled a small data chip from his pocket and held it up. Standard procedure. But I'd advise you to be careful. Varroc's reach is long. Elena took the chip, feeling its weight as though it held the key to everything. Thanks, she murmured, then moved for the door. Back in her quarters, the two women sat in near darkness as Elena powered up a private channel and began transmitting fragments of the data to a trusted contact outside the facility. Every second stretched taut as the progress bar inched forward. You ever wish we could just fly one of these ships and leave all this behind? Samira whispered, eyes fixed on the screen. More than once, Elena admitted. But someone has to stay and make sure people know the truth. Before Samira could answer, the door lock chimed abruptly. Elena's heart leapt into her throat. Varroc's security? She snapped the laptop shut and motioned for Samira to hide the data chip as the lock disengaged with a hiss. And as the door began to swing open, Elena was already on her feet, pulse thundering, ready to face whoever had come to silence them before their message could take flight. The door slid open, and Elena's breath hitched as a shadow crossed the threshold. She kept her stance wide and fists clenched, every nerve taut. Relax, it's me, a familiar voice whispered. Samira let out a shaky laugh as the figure stepped into the light, Lieutenant Carson, one of their most trusted colleagues. You scared the life out of us, Elena exhaled. Carson closed the door quickly, locking it with a swipe. "Sorry," he muttered. "But this isn't a social call. Varric knows you two have been poking around." Elena's stomach dropped. "How?" "I intercepted one of his security updates," Carson replied, producing a handheld device. "He suspects a leak and has been pulling surveillance footage all night." Samira pulled the data chip from her pocket and held it up. "And this?" "More valuable than you realize," Carson nodded. "Varric's mobilizing a team to lock this base down. If you plan to do something with that intel, it better be now." A tense silence filled the room. "We need to go public," Elena decided. "If we can't stop him here, we force the truth into the open." Carson glanced at the chip. "There's a communications hub topside. If we can broadcast the schematics, the log entries, and the jump drive flaws before Varric shuts this down." Samira cut in, eyes gleaming. "Then the whole world will see what they've been hiding." "Exactly," Elena said, already grabbing her jacket. They moved fast, threading through the underground corridors as alarms began to wail in the distance. Red emergency lights spun across concrete walls. "Looks like Varric's made his move," Carson hissed, glancing back as boots pounded closer behind them. "Keep going," Elena urged, heart thudding. "We don't have time to fight." They slipped into an auxiliary elevator and rode it up to the control center. The doors parted into a glass-walled room humming with servers, cables, and a central broadcast terminal. Elena rushed to the console, hands flying across its interface as Samira posted guard at the door. "Do you have a secure frequency?" Carson asked. Elena nodded. "There's a civilian communications network piggybacking on this system. If I bypass the core firewall, I can transmit directly into the public sphere." "You'd better hurry," Samira warned, eyes on the security monitor. Shadows moved in the hall outside. Varric's team was almost on them. Lines of code scrolled across Elena's screen. Her hands never paused as she queued up her father's log entries, the alien schematics, and a personal message telling the world what had been hidden for decades. And then the door burst open. Varric strode in with two security officers. His gaze fixed on Elena as she hovered over the transmit command. "You disappoint me," he said, voice like ice. "Not nearly as much as you disappoint humanity," Elena shot back. Varric's lips thinned. "You have no idea what you're doing. That data will cause panic, chaos. The world isn't prepared." "That's your excuse for every secret you bury," Samira snapped, stepping forward. "Those secrets kept Earth stable," Varric countered. "If they'd known what was waiting out there, the hostile empires, the fragile treaties, it would have destroyed us. Ignorance was our shield." Elena straightened, eyes blazing. "And ignorance left my father to disappear into the dark. It left every scientist and pilot after him flying blind. That's not leadership, that's fear." Varric's face remained impassive. "And what happens when your truth sparks war? Do you intend to take responsibility for the bodies that will follow?" "You're making assumptions," Elena replied, her hand hovering above the transmit button. "Maybe people deserve the chance to face that future together." "Naive," Varric hissed. "Hopeful," Elena corrected. A tense silence fell. The hum of servers and distant alarms filled the space between them like a rising tide. "You won't do it," Varric finally said. "You haven't the guts to gamble humanity's future on a dream." "Watch me," Elena replied. And with that, she pressed the transmit key. Data streams surged into the satellite uplinks. Screens flashed green as packet after packet of encrypted files left the base and beamed into the global net. Varric moved fast, reaching for Elena, but Carson intercepted him, grappling him back with a grunt. "Go!" Samira urged, pushing Elena toward the secondary exit as security officers rushed to intervene. A brief scuffle broke out, fists and shouts, the clang of bodies against walls. Elena glanced back just long enough to see Carson dragging Varric into a chair as Samira locked the door. "Let's move," Samira barked. They sprinted down the corridor into the hangar bay, alarms shrieking overhead. Above them, a sleek starship, the same prototype Elena had tested, loomed under its gantries, bathed in harsh white light. "You're thinking what I'm thinking," Samira called over the din. Elena felt her pulse quicken. "If we leave the data trail behind us and jump clear of their sensors, they'll never catch us." "Exactly," Samira agreed, already moving toward the hatch. As they clambered into the ship, Elena paused for one last look at the underground complex. Red warning beacons strobed across every surface. Varric's secrets were already spilling into the world, and there was no going back. Within minutes, they were seated at the controls. The cockpit glowed with a halo of unfamiliar instruments, alien alloys and human craftsmanship fused into one improbable vessel. "Engine power at full," Samira called. "FTL jump calculated." "Coordinates?" "Anywhere they won't find us," Elena answered, voice steady. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. And then the ship leapt, stars melting into bright streaks as the jump drive engaged. As they soared into deep space, the distant blue marble of Earth vanished behind them. Samira glanced over, concern mixed with exhilaration. "Do you regret it?" Elena's hands rested on the console, trembling just enough to remind her it was real. "No," she replied softly. "Varric thought humanity was too fragile for the truth. But they deserve to choose who they become." And somewhere, light years away, a trail of data was racing across networks and satellites, unlocking the secret history of humanity's path to the stars. Elena gazed into the void ahead, the weight on her heart lifting. "Time to go find my father," she whispered, and the ship flew onward into the unknown. The starfield outside the cockpit was surreal, a swirling canvas of distant light painted across the void. Elena sat rigid in the pilot's chair, hands resting lightly on the unfamiliar control yoke, listening to the subtle hum of alien engines beneath her feet. Next to her, Samira monitored readouts, brow furrowed. "Jump drive stable," she confirmed. "We're holding steady at superluminal velocity." Elena nodded, eyes fixed on the deep black outside. Somewhere far ahead was her father, or what remained of him, lost in a landscape humanity hadn't dared to imagine. "You all right?" Samira's voice broke the silence. Elena exhaled slowly. "I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just feel small." "You uncovered the biggest conspiracy of the century," Samira said. "And sent it worldwide. That's not small. But what comes next? Varric's people will chase us. Aliens might already know we're here. Every choice feels like a drop in an ocean." Samira laid a steady hand on her arm. "That's what exploration is. Every ocean crossed started with one drop. What matters is who you become along the way." The words grounded Elena. She straightened in her seat. "Then let's see what we find." Hours passed as they threaded deeper into interstellar space. The jump drive's instruments displayed unfamiliar star maps, their scale dizzying. "Reading gravitational anomalies," Samira murmured. "There's something out here. Can you localize it?" Elena asked. A few deft keystrokes zoomed their star chart. "Looks like an artificial structure, possibly a beacon." Set a course, Elena decided without hesitation. Samira glanced over. "You sure? Could be a trap." "Maybe," Elena replied, voice quiet but sure. "But my father chased answers into the unknown. So will I." The starship shifted as Samira engaged the directional thrusters. Before long, a shimmering silhouette emerged, a long, cylindrical station suspended in nothingness, its hull adorned with unfamiliar glyphs that glowed softly. Docking was surprisingly smooth. The station appeared to recognize their vessel, auto-guiding them into a sealed hangar that smelled of cold metal and ozone. When the airlock hissed open, Elena and Samira stepped onto an immaculate deck that felt eerily deserted. "Hello?" Samira called, voice echoing. No reply. Still, power thrummed through the place. Soft blue lights ran along corridors that branched like a maze. "I feel like someone's watching," Elena whispered. As if on cue, a hologram shimmered to life before them, humanoid but clearly not human, its form comprised of translucent light. "Welcome," it spoke in perfect, measured English. "You have followed the path of those before you." "Those before us?" Elena asked, heart racing. "Yes," the hologram continued. "Explorers who dared to step beyond their cradle world. One of them was your kin." "My father," Elena breathed. "You wish to find him," the entity stated, not a question. "Yes," Elena answered. The light being paused, as though processing. "Your kind was seated long ago to ascend. Some, like your father, crossed the threshold to prepare the way. But they faced trials beyond this station." "Is he still alive?" Elena asked urgently. "He lives," the hologram replied. "But he chose a path that cannot be retraced easily." "Then show me," Elena pressed. "First, you must understand," the hologram countered. "Your people stand at a cusp. Truth has been revealed to your world, but truth alone will not shield you. Many will fear what you bring." Elena exchanged a glance with Samira. "We already sent the data," Samira said. "Earth knows what was hidden." The hologram's form glowed brighter. "That is why you are here. The others will soon seek you, some to help, some to destroy. But first, you must pass our test." A deep thrum ran through the station as light gathered into the shape of a gate. "What kind of test?" Elena asked, unease stirring. "One of resolve," the hologram replied. "Proceed, and face the legacy of those who shaped you." With no other options, Elena and Samira stepped toward the gate. Energy lapped around them like a tide, and then the station vanished. They emerged in a strange landscape that shifted with every breath, one moment a starfield, the next a verdant plain under alien skies. "Elena," Samira murmured, eyes wide. "Do you see that?" In the distance stood a figure. Elena's heart stuttered. "Dad?" He was older, his face carved with years of hardship, but undeniably him. He raised a hand in greeting, sorrow and relief mixed in his gaze. "You made it," he said simply. And for a moment, Elena forgot the station, the chase, the secrets. Nothing existed but him and the impossible reality that they had found each other across light years and years of silence. "You shouldn't have come," her father continued after a pause. "You left," Elena replied, voice trembling. "What was I supposed to do?" "You were supposed to live," he said gently. "That was the plan. I thought I was ensuring humanity's future." "You can still help," Elena insisted, stepping closer. "Earth is waking up, whether Varric likes it or not. And I want you to see it." His gaze softened, proud despite the pain there. "Then let's go home together." The landscape shimmered as reality bent around them, the station pulling them back into its embrace. "You passed," the hologram declared. "And so your path continues, with those you hold dear." The gateway sealed, leaving them back at their docked ship. Elena felt her father's hand clasping hers. "Ready to go back?" Samira asked, grinning as she powered up the engines. Elena glanced at the swirling starfield beyond the viewport and felt a surge of purpose. "Yes," she answered, voice steady. "And then onward, together."